Hey, you're stuck in trial with Wolf Gorlick. A few minutes riffing on IT and IT security. Today, defining supply chain attacks. So I was in a meeting recently, and they're like, "Oh, you got manufacturing background." I don't have background in manufacturing, to be clear. I've never worked there, but in consulting, being in Detroit, of course, you consult with a large number of manufacturers. So yes, manufacturing background. Like the supply chain. Like yes, I mean we've done vendor risk and whatnot. Okay. Cool. Like, so could you talk about supply chain attacks? I'm like, funny thing is that there is so many different definitions for supply chain attacks. So today I'm going to talk specifically about software supply chain, which has absolutely nothing to do with manufacturing supply chain. Surprise. And the tip for you is this. Whether you're developing software or installing software and using it, you need to be aware of supply chain, how that software gets from those devs to your box. There's many steps along the way of producing software, right? You've got the folks who write the code, and there's lots of controls available to protect developers from inadvertently or maliciously injecting bad code. Things like static analysis, where you run the code through some automated tests. Things like peer review, where you get eyeballs on it. Things like penetration tests, which is always fun. There's lots of different ways that you can make sure that that code is being produced is good quality code. Now, once that code leaves and gets compiled, during that build process, during that process where it's bringing all that code together into a executable, there are multiple different ways that you can do to protect that. You can protect your build server. You can ensure that your frameworks are good. You can double check to make sure that that no additional unexpected things have snuck into the build. If you go back and Google for Xcode Ghost, and the video I did on that, that's a perfect example of a supply chain where the criminals were able to inject a malicious framework. That framework got bundled with the app, and now everyone in the App Store downloaded it. And from the developer's perspective, it was clean code. From Apple's perspective, they had signed it. It all looked good. It wasn't good. All right, so we protect the developers, we protect the build. Now, if it's traditional software you're installing, that executables now need to go somewhere, right? And oftentimes they then get distributed around the world. They get mirrored, right? They get copied to different places where you download. You can protect those things, doing things like making sure you got secure copies, making sure that you've enabled encryption, making sure that you've signed the executables and that those signs match when people download and install them. Lots of different things you can do on that mirror side. If you're doing software as a service, there's lots of different things you can do to protect your running environment. Things such as traditional vulnerability management, configuration management, making sure that your software that's being hosted in the cloud isn't getting messed with in the runtime. So different places criminals can sneak things in. They can sneak in malicious code. They can sneak things into the build. They can sneak things into the executables we download. They can sneak things into the runtime. And that entire chain, from the time someone typed in hello world to the time you ran an executable on your desktop or opened software as a service, that entire chain is the supply chain. So when you hear supply chain attacks, they're usually looking at various ways that criminals can inject malicious code and, of course, then take advantage of the users vis-a-vis you and me. What do you think? Have you seen any supply chain attacks? Is there something you're concerned about or questions about? Comment, social media, hit me up.